here with Cher Jones, Brenda Miller, and Michelle Raymond. And we are excited to have you be part of this conversation with us. And if you're a part of this and you're listening in, by all means, please share the knowledge, ask your questions, ask people what's going on. I think people will really enjoy the conversation. So thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Bobby Amar. I am a motivational speaker by trade. For the last 20 years, I've done 1,000 keynotes across 4 continents. I've done 5 TEDx talks and declined 3 other TEDx talks. And I typically focus on personal branding and thought leadership. But now my new focus in 2024 is I'm helping people land a TEDx talk to elevate their thought leadership, their personal brand, and build their thought leadership. And that leads to more speaking gigs, more paid appearances, and it helps you double your business. That's what I focus on. And I'm just going to leave it to the other amazing people to introduce themselves, starting with who came into the room first. Cher, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Really excited to be here. So my name is Cher Jones, and I help leaders and their teams build their brands at work for work. So it helps them build their careers, rocket in their roles, and also show up as incredible employee advocates. So that's what I do. I do it through training and coaching one-on-one with the leaders. And I'm really excited to be here. And the fact that you turned down more TED Talks than I've ever done in my life, which is like 0, but turned out that's pretty impressive. So we are definitely in great company today. So I'm going to pass it to Michelle below. Right, we'll work our way around.
Sure, it's like the Brady Bunch.
Exactly. Here's a story of a girl called Michelle J. Raymond who is down here in Sydney. So good morning from Sydney here. And I help people who want to leverage LinkedIn to grow their business, especially in the B2B space. So coaching and training is me as well. But, for me, I can't wait to have this conversation today because we talk about individuals a lot having a digital presence. And I hope we get to talk about the importance for companies as well, because I'm starting to really see that in the B2B space, that people are like, oh, we've got to be online. So, and I know Cher and Brenda and Bobby, you'll have something to say about this as well. So a good morning from a very sunny and hot Sydney. I'm going to pass it to the opposite end of the temperature scale. Brenda Miller, over to you.
It's like, and I'm like going for the baton over here. Okay, thank you. And it's like, we're of the same mind, Michelle, because I was going to start literally with temperature comparison and where the weather is. So here in Metro Detroit, by the way, I am Brenda Miller. Here in Metro Detroit, we are in this lovely, beautiful time of the year. I'm joking a little bit because there's like snow and cold, and today it's like there's rain on top of the snow, and it's like not quite freezing ice rain. It's just cold rain on top of wet snow, which is going to make a lot of smush and mush and stuff outside. At any rate, what I do is I specialize in helping job seekers, solopreneurs, and employees get a bigger slice of the LinkedIn pie. I'm a huge fan of Bobby Umar. Anytime he asks me to come out and do something, I go to him because Bobby has built with me so much social media karma that I feel like I'm forever indebted to him. And lucky me, when I heard Cher Jones and Michelle Raymond were going to be on, I was like, oh my God, it's the Cool Kids Club coming out today. So I'm super stoked to be here today, Bobby.
And can I just give a quick weather report for Brenda? It's only going to be 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh,
wow.
If I progressively go redder as this show goes on, it is warm already.
Wow, that's great.
I was going to say, thanks for mentioning the cool kids. I mean, because, I was mostly a band nerd, so going to hang with you guys is really good. So I appreciate that. And I also post at the bottom, if you have comments, we can actually share your comments in the chat. I'll kind of, someone like Rachel said, hey, Bobby, happy to be here. So put your comments down below. And if I see them, I'll be able to put them let us know where you're from. Are you from North America, South America, Australia, Europe, Asia, Africa? Let us know where you're from. That would be great. And then, of course, we're going to, I'll talk about it, and below we talk about TLB Club. So Thought Leadership Brand Club is a membership community that allows people to grow their thought leadership brands through working on either personal branding or digital presence or relationship building, mindset, confidence, storytelling, and all that kind of stuff. And so we have weekly calls. We have a weekly Zoom call on Thursday where we do a training with guest speakers, people like Brenda Miller who have been there and delivered some really amazing stuff, which is awesome. And other people also have shown up to these calls, like Richard Moore and Judy Fox, and it's been a lot of fun. So you can come to that and see what it's all about and learn what the club is all about. So make sure you check that out. And that segues nicely into the topic of thought leadership. I started Thought Leadership Brand Club during the days of Clubhouse, and now it's a big part of what I do and certainly part of my brand. But I'll open it up to anybody who wants to go, unless, of course, you prefer me to like tag each person. And I know that some people prefer that. So let's start with defining thought leadership. What does it mean to you? Like thought leadership, I want to go to Brenda first.
Oh, man,
What does that mean to you?
I was going to cheat off the other kids. Like when they answered, I was going to repeat what Michelle said, but I was going to say to echo that, what she said. Look at thought leadership as, do people come to you for knowledge? Like, do they see you as a leader about some topic or area, or do you have confidence speaking about that too? And I think for many people, specifically I'll say women, I think sometimes we struggle with like, I don't want to call myself an expert. I don't want to call myself a leader. But, if you have more knowledge about a subject than somebody else does, then you kind of are a thought leader. Like you become it by default. And I think you can name yourself that, or other people can call you that. But I think it's when people come to you seeking advice or expertise or insights based on a specific topic.
I love that.
How'd I do?
Who's next? Let's keep going.
I think you did great. And there's something I wanted to touch on based off of what you said, Brenda, is you can call yourself a thought leader. I know there's a whole road of thought leadership that says it's icky to call yourself a thought leader. And while it may not be something that I would call myself, I'd sooner line up with the word expert, because I am, as long as you can own it. But you can call, if you are leading thought, if you have an opinion that is changing the way people see things, that is broadening a perspective, and that's your thought, own it. So I just wanted to touch on that. And I guess I just added to the definition around, you have an opinion, you have a methodology, a perspective, something that is changing the game, and you are contributing that in any format, in any way, whether it's speaking on a stage, in a book, in an article, in a panel like this. That is thought leadership. So I just like the fact that you put it out there that, yes, you can call yourself a thought leader. And I know that there's a lot of people like, ew, that's gross. It's so icky. No one's a guru. I get it, but it's okay. That's all I'm going to say.
Cher says it's okay, so it's okay. Like that's what we're going with. And I'm going to borrow from a guest that I had on my podcast, Ashley Foss, who talks about this a lot, thought leaders versus subject matter experts. And, I really love that on the podcast, she said to me, Michelle, when I asked her the definition of thought leader, she said, have thoughts, be a leader. You have to have both. And I know it sounds really simple when you break it down, but there are lots of people that post content every day. So they have the thoughts and they're putting it out there, but they're not necessarily seen as a leader. And then there are also leaders that are out there that don't share their thoughts. They keep them all to themselves. And, I know it sounds really quite basic, but you need both pieces of the puzzle. So you can't just have thoughts and be invisible, and you can't be, the other way around. So from that perspective, I kind of look to it and go, is there a difference between that and subject matter experts? And that for me is maybe where the leadership piece comes in. That's what distinguishes someone from being, from being a thought leader. So I kind of look at it. It's one of those words. And again, to kind of go back to businesses, it's amazing me at the moment just how many businesses are coming to me going, we want our business to be seen as a thought leader. So the brand is a thought leader, not just the individuals, which is an interesting kind of transition that's only happened, I'm going to say, over the last 3 to 6 months maximum, probably 3 months more so. So I think we're going to see more and more of this word get used in 2024. So Bobby, your thoughts?
Well, there's lots here to comment on and break down, but I think that I'll start with a quote that I use. There's a famous quote: "Your personal brand is what they say when you're not in the room." But I would say your thought leadership brand is what they say before you enter the room, when you enter the room, and after you're gone. It's because you're known. It's because everyone knows who you are and they trust you as the authority or expert in your field or whatever it is you want to talk about. So I think that's a big piece of it. So when I work with people on personal brand, like get clarity on personal brand, but now take that personal brand and elevate it to thought leadership brand level. So now everyone knows who you are, what you do, and they actually are booking you and signing you and hiring you to speak at the things that you want to do. So the stuff you said around expertise is good. And you also, the other thing I talk about too is like, there are people who typically have lots of connections and deep relationships and followers, but that's just influence. Does that make you a thought leader? Not necessarily. You could be creating content, putting it out there, and maybe even you think you're an expert in project management, but is it really that good? Is it? I don't know, because it has to be elevated to the point where it's so good that everybody is talking about it and they're reaching out to you and they're following you, and you are actually driving the conversation more than you would everything else. So that's kind of my definition. I believe everyone can be a thought leader in the field depending on what their target or niche is, but that's kind of what I do. And I want to go back to what Cher said about owning it and calling yourself one. I think that's fascinating. You know, this whole idea of calling yourself cool, or people call you cool. And, you know, for example, I'll give my own perspective, which is, you know, can you call yourself a thought leader? I mean, I think it's okay. To me, if it's validated, if it's just like for the longest time as a speaker, I would never call myself a comedian. But a lot of people say, Bobby, you're so funny on stage when you do a keynote. And so because hundreds of people have said it, I now say, yes, I bring the funny when I do a keynote. I say that because I know. I'm happy to say I'm the world class. I'm a world-class parent. I'm a world-class hugger. I'm a world-class speaker. I'm happy to say that. So I don't see why you can't say thought leader as long as it's validated and you want to own it. But I wanted to hear of, Brenda, what do you think about that?
Yeah, first of all, I think you're a comedian. I think you're really funny. It's funny that you say that. I was like, you are like, I think there's something to be said about that too, because I think if you are struggling with this whole concept of am I a thought leader or not, you could ask around and say, you could say to your friends, you don't even need to say, am I a thought leader? You can say, when you think about me, what are the words or phrases that come to mind, and see what what they're saying. Oh, you're a marketing expert. You love pie. You're a leader on LinkedIn. Like, what are they saying about you? Because I think sometimes that can help to affirm. Like, I probably, like, when you say that, you're a comedian, I probably wouldn't say like that was one of the top 3 things I would say about you, Bobby, but I would say relationship building. I mean, for me, thought leadership is one of the keywords I would think about when I think about Bobby, because I think of the Thought Leadership Branding Club, first of all. And I think of your focus on this whole concept of thought leadership. So Bobby's doing a really good job. Follow this guy, because he's doing a really good job of what we need as consumers, right? We need to be reminded. You need to tell people, and then you need to prove to people why you're an expert in the areas that you're in. But again, I would say if you're struggling with, do people see me as a leader? Like, ask around. You could do it on a LinkedIn post. You could do it in a poll. Think about what are the 3 words and phrases that you think of when you think of me, and see what people say about you. And you might have some ideas right there.
I love that. And see, it's funny. I thought about the whole. We're working on your brand right now, Bobby. We're going to talk about your brand. I would say that you're not a comedian, but you have a comedic style. You're a thought leader. And so to I guess to touch on to what Brenda was saying is like, that's not what I think of first, but you're definitely funny. And you are a comedian in that sense, but I think you have a comedic style of teaching, and you're funny, but there's depth to you. And so that's just my thought in thinking that. But I think that I love how the definition got clarified as we went around the circle and just built upon that, because there is that difference between influencer and thought leader. And I saw that comment come up earlier. And then there also is, I love what Michelle said around the expert versus thought leader. Right. And then I think that we're all also touching the fact that you can't just call yourself something. Well, anybody can call themselves something, to be honest. But where's the proof? How do you validate that? Where's your credibility? Are you putting it out there? Because then that will determine whether people believe it or not, or adopt it or not, or they're looking at you like it's an icky thing. And usually it's an icky thing because it's not validated. So I think that's what people have to keep in mind. But I also, from the other side of the spectrum, I know we're talking a lot about thought leadership. Not everybody's a thought leader, and that's okay too. You can be an expert, and that could be your path, and that's fine. And not everybody has to have this like huge brand where you are coming to the stage. But those who do, you got to put the work in. So I'll leave that there.
And Michelle, what do you think about the idea of being able to say that you're a thought leader, with like you're a guru or you're a ninja or a world-class person?
Well, I'm going to just kind of confess something that happened to me. So I started my business in March 2020, and kind of by the end of that first year, kind of found my feet and knew what I was going to be doing. And I'd moved from working for someone else to becoming, essentially a LinkedIn trainer and coach. Now, calling myself a LinkedIn expert, even though I'd been using it for 7 or 8 years, but by that stage, when it came to calling myself a LinkedIn expert, not gonna lie, there is no way that I ever gave myself that credibility. And it wasn't until I was on a podcast, and then there was an article that was published afterwards where the other person who wrote the article called me a LinkedIn expert, and I went, "Oh, if she says I'm one, then I can call myself one
Yeah.
now." So I was listening to Cher, and I was like, yes, I totally agree. And I wish I had that lesson, 3.5 years ago, whenever it was. But I just remember, and I've still got that article and it still sits there. And it was like that moment where I was like, yes, I'm now recognized by my peers. And
Mhm.
that held a lot of weight for me, possibly too much, which I'm sure that there's probably some people that are listening in that can probably relate. That on one hand, you kind of back yourself, but it feels a little bit weird to go and tell people, hey, I'm an expert, when the reality was, I knew my stuff. I knew what I was talking
Easy.
about. And so this is the part where I think we make these words weird. Like if someone called me an influencer, I think on some level I'd think Instagram influencer, Kardashian, and I'd be like, ew, that's, I don't want to be one of those. But I think it's the context that you have and how you frame these particular words. For some people, they're probably, I'm a subject matter expert. And that's like a badge that they wear with pride. And, I love what you said, Cher. Like whether you want to be an influencer, a subject matter expert, thought leader, doesn't matter, or none of the above. But I think own it is the lesson that I've learned. And that certainly, it was like a point in time that I can definitely look back and went, from that moment, these kind of things happened. But yeah, it's certainly a journey, we'll call it.
I love the idea of owning it. I mean, one of the things that's come up for a lot of people in our network and in my clients are the collaborative badges, for example, collaborative article badges. So you now you have a community top voice and this and that, and this and that. And like, oh, do I display it? Do I not? Some people are, and some people are poo-pooing on some of these things, right? Because for whatever reason,
Right.
And what I would say to them is, look, every single thing that you have on LinkedIn and anywhere else is an asset. And so how you want to position that asset and leverage that asset, by all means, go for it, right? You got a book up there, let people know about it. I had the badge on Twitter. I'm going to talk about that. I had the badge on Twitter. Now I have the top voice. I'm going to talk about that. But even the ones where you've worked on the community badge, like I think that's totally fine. So I'm totally cool with that. And I'm glad that Cher brought that up first to make us get it. I want to add one quick thing, which is, I talk about 3 criteria for thought leadership. One is the whole, the people, the connections, followers, that type of thing. The second piece is the content creation, the ideas and things like that. The third part is basically about learning to be better at communicating, storytelling, presenting, speaking, because when you do that and you start to share that knowledge out there, you should always be learning as a leader, as a thought leader. The thought leaders are driving they're the forefront of the conversation. They're driving the conversation versus following along. So I think that relates to what you said about expertise. And so this has been a good start. If you're loving this live stream, make sure you comment below, share your thoughts. I sometimes will feature people here on the thing. And don't forget to follow, share Brenda and Michelle, as well as the Thought Leaders Brand Club. And we actually have a question, which I want to get to. And the question is, do you give yourself that label first or adopt it after enough people tell you that is what they see in you? And I think we kind of covered this already, but let's go back to what Michelle said. And, because here's the thing, I'm going to counter. I mean, if one person says, Bobby, you're this. I mean, first off, who are you? Where do you come from? Like, you just came off the street and told me on the streetcar? No. Who is this person? It has to be more, I'd say more than one. But can you tell me a bit more about that? What do you think?
Well, for me, it had to come from someone that I genuinely respected. It was almost someone that had come before me, not just a throwaway comment that someone was saying just to make me feel good that I latched onto and ran with it. But it doesn't need to be a number of people. I think there has to be that leadership piece. So for me, there is, pieces of the puzzle that all align. But is there a magical number where someone can say it? I don't think so, but I think it's one of those things that we can overcomplicate this. I'm with Cher. If you want to be one and that's what you're working towards, and maybe you're working with Bobby and you're at the beginning of your thought leadership journey, it's a spectrum. And I think as long as you do what Cher said and own it, it doesn't matter what anyone else says, because you can live into that future, once you claim it. So yeah, curious to know what others think about this one.
Cher, what do you think?
So the interesting thing, I think what's really important is like the part of claiming it means that you're proving it. You are providing proof of thought, right? And and the thing is, there's always going to be someone, you wouldn't be a good thought leader if someone didn't disagree with you, right? Because there's more than one way, there's more than one opinion, there's more than one perspective. And when you're getting to that level of thought leadership, and it was so interesting for myself as I was moving through this journey, because I've been doing this for a long time in one iteration, you iterate to innovate. And over the years, I was just looking back the other day and just seeing where I'm taking harder stances, where before it'd be, yeah, you could do that or you could do that. And then there's a lot of things in the branding space that you go this way, or you can go that way. There's not necessarily a right and wrong answers, but there's certain things that I'm willing to be like, I'm digging my heel in the ground right here. And this is where I live and this is where I'm okay with. And I know that I know a lot of people may disagree with certain things, but then I know other people will follow. So going back to the Michelle thing, it's someone's willing to follow what you're saying and believe in you, and believe that your advice can help them. You are impacting them in some way. And I think so it's like this combination. You can't just, it's not like a name it and claim it thing, right? Like you do have to put the work in. The work had to be put in to get there. Right. But there is a part where you just have to, if you really know your stuff and you're putting the work in and you're putting it out there, so you're not just the expert. So I loved, again, that distinction between the expert and the thought leader. It's like you're putting it out there and you're okay with that. You're leading people, not just keeping the knowledge to its contained area where it's being applied.
Can I offer something to change gears on this a little bit?
Yeah.
Or just add another slice. It's almost like the kaleidoscope.
Another
Let's
slice of
change it
pie.
just a little bit. Let's think about the people that call themselves thought leaders, but thanks to LinkedIn, we can look them up and see. And I think sometimes, you have to be aware of there might be people who aren't really thought leaders, but they're trying to market themselves as that. They're trying to say that they are branding experts or LinkedIn experts or, sales experts or whatever, but you look at their profile and the information that's there on their profile doesn't suggest that they are a branding expert or a sales expert or a LinkedIn expert. And I've had people approach me saying, "Hey, I want to help you with LinkedIn." And I'm like, are you literally aware of what I do for like it's literally that's what I do. And I look at their profile and it's clear to me that they're either a spam bot account, they're not even real, or they are trying to break into the business and they're using some type of automation to invite people like me to connect with them. And I go back to their profile and I'm like, I would hope the average person would see this, but if somebody professes to be an expert, behold the power of LinkedIn. You should be looking at their LinkedIn profile and doing a once over, looking and see, do they have skills in those areas? Have they been giving recommendations from people who are real people? Are they getting, endorsements on their skills? Do they have activity, both posts and engagement within their network that illustrates what they do in terms of their expertise? So I think it's kind of like the beware of the thought leader who may not be a thought leader type of perspective. I don't know if any of you want
I
to
want
add
to
to
jump
that.
in on this because I'm so hungry. I know Michelle has something to say too. So sorry, Michelle. I just wanted to jump in on this. Okay, so I've been saying it for a long time. A lot of people are 2 clicks deep, but now they're 2 prompts deep. So they kind of look like they know their stuff because they have some posts. I could tell a chat GPT a post a mile away, right? So like I can tell that, and anybody can sound like an expert in Word, right? Anybody can sound like an expert, even in a quick video if they've had ChatGPT create them, a video script or whatever. But what people need to look for now is forums like this where people can apply their knowledge. So applied knowledge to me equals more thought leader. Like it's more evidence. There's more proof because anybody these days can sound like a thought leader. We saw that even before ChatGPT, and I love ChatGPT. I love AI and how it can help us get there faster. But there's so many people who are leveraging it, just like what we saw in Clubhouse. All these people, we all met in Clubhouse. So I think for the most part, and through LinkedIn, but through Clubhouse we connected. But we saw so many people, especially in the financial space, giving advice, and the marketing space. Like those two areas have the most of the snake oil living and is alive, and they're all 2 prompts or 2 clicks deep in their knowledge. So look for applied knowledge, right? And that should be helpful.
Okay.
I'm just nodding. I'm not going to add any more to that, Bobby, because I'm just going to go mic drop. Just leave it there.
Yeah, it's interesting having all 3 of you on this at the same time, because it's like, okay, wow, I mean, we're getting mic drops left, right, and center, which is great. And
That's what we do.
I know, and just so you know, we're actually doing these live streams every month on the TLB Club. But hopefully, you might see this on Twitter and Facebook and other. And I've done Instagram, but I realized Instagram, they prefer to do it like the portrait mode, which I didn't do, so it's not looking great. So unless we all like go over here, hey, and say hello. But
Okay, go that way.
Yeah, there we go like that. That'll work because it's squished in the middle. But anyways, but we're doing these every month, and so next month we're doing AI, ChatGPT, and other AI tech tools with Darren Gabe and Joshua Lee, and we have some other people coming up in the future, including Richard Vanderblom, Liam Darmody, Hannah Morgan, some really awesome folks. So make sure you follow the Thought Leaders Brand Club and the company page and learn about what we're doing. I want to move over to digital presence. So, I think digital presence is something that we think about from company standpoint, but also from an individual standpoint. And I think during the pandemic, a lot of people came to me and said, Bobby, I need to work my digital presence. I got to think about what's out there. I think I'll just kind of open up the discussion and just talk about the importance of it, and maybe, one kind of key tip that you would give. And let's start with Michelle, focusing on companies. What would you say would be why is it important? And then, what would be, a key point to make for them to help them out?
Look, it's this simple. If you don't own the space online, your competitors will. And I can assure you that if you give them a head start, unless you've got a massive budget to go chasing them with ads and the like, you're never going to catch them. And this is the thing. It's like, don't let your competitors take over your space. And we're starting to see that with B2B businesses who have relied on traditional selling methods. That's where I come from, 20 years in B2B sales. Go knock on the doors, go out for lunches, these kinds of things. They've all gone out the window. People have changed. The B2B buyer has changed. What do we all do when we want answers? We jump online, Google, LinkedIn, wherever, type in a question, get our answers online. So, pretty much all the research says that anywhere from around 70 to 80% of that buying decision has been done before they even reach out to someone. And how is it being done? All online. And so it's just not even an option. There's, more research that says that B2B buyers are looking for no sales interaction. So they don't even want to talk to a salesperson to buy. And we're not talking $20 purchases. This is up to $500,000 purchases. So if you think that because of your own personal opinions on social media, you think maybe it's just people bragging or sharing all their personal stuff or whatever preconceived ideas you have about why people shouldn't be on, socials or, just digital in general, you are going to get left behind, and that is going to cost your business because it creates this vicious cycle. People online get found. They answer the questions. Someone does the research. They're aware of that brand. They buy from them. They make more money. They get more cool stuff to do internally. They hire more people. They do more cool stuff because then they keep winning. And so it becomes this winning cycle. So if you're not doing it, if I had $1 for every person that reaches out and says, my boss says I need to have more company page followers than my competitor X, Y, or Z, I'm like, okay, so they're at 50,000, you're at 0. Like, I'm good, But unless you got a huge budget, and even then I'm still not sure, you got zero chance. So I just don't think it's an option anymore. We shouldn't be having a debate whether you should or shouldn't. It is just do not get left behind is my advice. So yeah, I'll drop that there because I will get pretty passionate about this one. So
Yeah, and let me segue to Cher because I know she talks about personal branding in the workplace and things like that. So when you think about that, you think about the company versus the individual and the importance of digital presence. Kind of, what are your thoughts around that?
I love how what Michelle mentioned around those opportunities that come up, those winning opportunities. And this is recognizing that your brand is a part of a larger brand, recognizing that your brand can be a tool to access what I call the hidden opportunity market. And this is similar to the hidden job market. These are hidden opportunities right there at work where all of a sudden you're seeing people and they're not posted opportunities. Oh, we're thinking about doing an internal podcast or an external podcast. We're thinking about, we'd love for someone to go speak at this university or because they're doing a campus recruiting event or they're going out to a conference. And why do certain people get tapped? Well, it's because of their digital presence. Their digital presence is, you want these superstar advocates where really what that is a presence where you are repping yourself well, but you're also repping the company well. And then you become somebody. So when I used to work in the PR and communications world, there would be people that I would help certify so that they would be certified spokespersons, for example, for the city of Toronto, and I would take them through the process and whatnot. And that is the same now with our digital presence. Like you will attract those winning opportunities, building that presence, and then also more people, because what you have the opportunity to do is give them the extended remix of what it is you do and how you serve, the problems you solve, and the experience that you tap into. And when people can see that, one, they have the language because it's in your digital presence. You have now given them something to say about you. Before that, they had whatever they knew, and usually it's not a lot. They can tell you, they can tell people that, oh, she's an awesome person to work with, but you can actually give them the language to advocate for you. So that is your opportunity there. And there's so many places beyond LinkedIn. So if you're part of a professional association, you probably have a profile somewhere. If you are even internally at work, you have, especially for larger enterprise companies, they have internal profiles where people can look you up. And most people don't take advantage of that. Let your profile articulate what you bring to the table, the problems you solve, the experience that you lean into. And then on LinkedIn, it's like your presence then can show people what you do so that they can reset their expectations and imagine you doing the things that they need you to do and the things that you actually want to do.
And I love this comment from this fellow named Steve Worthy, MBA. I love that own that space. It looks like he's very supportive of our conversation.
Yeah.
Any idea why, Cher?
Oh, geez, right? I know. Well, I'm here in foggy Toronto and he's in nice Georgia, but that's all good. But I appreciate the support all the way out here.
I love Steve. This is great. All right, thank you, Steve.
Isn't it?
Well, let's go to Brenda Miller. Brenda Miller, your thoughts on digital presence? I know that you help a lot of people with LinkedIn and building the digital presence there. For people who are like, nah, I don't get it, or I don't need this, or those naysayers. I mean, obviously you can't convince everybody, but what would you say to the people that still don't get it or don't want to do it?
Yeah, that's a great question. This is what I tell them, Bobby, if you are active online or not. And I'm going to focus on LinkedIn because that's
Yeah.
kind of my core area of expertise, marketing and LinkedIn, I would say. But what I tell people is you can be on LinkedIn or not. You can have a LinkedIn profile that's filled out and optimized for your ideal target audience or not. You can have a LinkedIn profile that looks like you're looking for a job and you're not looking for a job. And maybe that's what's holding you back. Or you can lean into it and you can build your digital presence to help you even if you are inactive. And I've been using this analogy lately. This might help people. Back in the day, we had phone books. We had the white pages, we had the yellow pages. And if you wanted to look up and find people or businesses, you had to use the yellow pages and white pages. Then all of a sudden one day there was this thing called the internet. and you had to go on the internet and you had to find a company website. And the companies that didn't get a website, over time, we would kind of question, is this a legitimate business because they don't have a website or not? Nowadays, what people do, especially in the professional space, is they look you up online, and they may not look you up on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter for various reasons, but they will look you up on LinkedIn. There's a good chance they're going to look you up on LinkedIn if they're going to do business with you, because they see it as a reputable professional networking site. And really what I think they see it is a reputable professional directory. So think about it that way. Is your directory posting filled out? Is it accurately representing you and who you are as a representative of your company, if that's the case, if you're an employee of a company? Or if you're in career transition, is it clear to people what you're looking for and what you offer to your next employer? So have a digital presence or not, but I think people are going to look you up there anyway. So why not tell the story that you want to tell people by building out your digital presence? That's my take.
No, I love that. I love that. And I think for me, one of the things I'm a big advocate for is multi-platform digital presence. Thought leadership. Like if you look at the thought leaders out there, like let's say Brené Brown or Simon Sinek or Gary Vaynerchuk, they're not just on one platform. They're on multiple platforms, and they're getting their message out there because you don't know who's going to be where. I have found from my own personal, my big three are LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. Yes, I'm still on Twitter because I'm getting business from there. Why would I leave if I have a huge influence of 500,000 followers and I'm getting business? I'm not going to leave. I'm going to fight the toxicity, but I'm going to and spread positivity. But I'm building business there, and but I'm also I'm dabbling in TikTok. I'm dabbling in YouTube Shorts. I'm dabbling in Threads now because you never know who you might find from those things. Now that said, it can be overwhelming for folks, but most thought leaders build a broad digital presence everywhere. Now, I'm not a machine like Gary Vee, and I can't put down 4 pieces of content every day or all that kind of stuff. But I focus on a primary. So basically, what I do is LinkedIn is my primary place. So the video that I post on LinkedIn, I'll then repurpose that on Instagram. I'll share it on Twitter. I'll put it on YouTube Shorts, and that's kind of what I would do. But for LinkedIn, it's kind of 80% of my attention. And of course, now that I got the top voice, I feel a bit of an onus responsibility. And I can't even tell you how I deal with it. It helps with your mindset. Like, okay, now I guess I have to be more responsible with my stuff. This morning, I did a post about my weight loss challenge because I started it beginning of January. I'm halfway through, and I was like, oh, am I allowed to post this now? Like, I don't know. Like, will LinkedIn be mad at me? I don't know. But I posted anyway because I was like, I don't care. I got to do this. It's important. So I'm thinking about these.
Before you got here, right? So before you got the blue, you were posting that kind of stuff anyway, so they recognize.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. So I'm so 80% of my time's on LinkedIn, and then the rest of it is other places. So I'm really big advocate for that. I know a lot of people are not, or they pick one place. Either start with one, or I would say start with one and then add 2 other with that where your target audience is. So that's kind of my take on digital presence. Any thoughts on that?
Do you call it X? I was going to jump in and I wanted to ask you, but I'm like, you're still calling it Twitter. Do you call it X yet, or do you call it Twitter?
If I want a toxic masculine, overlord to make me call it X, then yeah, I might be one of his followers, but I'm not. So I'm not going to follow it. There's so much background behind that, and how he actually took the website away from somebody without their permission, and he wants to call it this crazy name. It's Twitter. It's always going to be Twitter. As far as Facebook's doing Meta. No one says, "Oh, hey, check your Meta feed." No one says that. They say Facebook.
Right. But it shows you the impact of personal brand and company brand, how they impact each other. They are not individual, and I think Elon Musk is the perfect example. He says something, it impacts the brand, and vice versa. So we see that in companies all the time. So there's no longer this individuals over here as employees and companies over there. They have to work together. And I think this is where, Cher and I are especially aligned, is that we have to bring these pieces together. But Bobby, can I ask you a question? Is it okay? Is it okay to not want to be a thought leader? Because I struggle with this one, right? Like, I wonder, do my clients expect me to be more a subject matter expert, or am I a thought leader? I don't know about this one. And maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe I just keep being me and doing my thing. But I just wonder, what's the difference from my client's perspective? I mean, because that's why I'm doing this stuff. So I don't know. Do I need to be a thought leader?
Yeah. So what I would say is that thought leadership can also be within different platforms and different subcultures. So, for example, you can be a thought leader in the author space. You can be a thought leader in LinkedIn only, and that's fine. You don't have to be a thought leader across the board. For those who want to be a global thought leader or want to, attract people from other types of places, they can. But you can also build thought leadership even just from one platform. It can. There are thought leaders on Pinterest. I have a colleague. She has 4 million followers on Pinterest. Does she want to build anywhere else? No, because it would take too much time, and she's already building business from the 4 million follower on Pinterest, and that's fine. So I think it's something. I think we all have leadership. Thought leadership is something that you aspire to and you build, and you can build it if you want, but you don't have to if you don't want to.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
As Michelle was asking that question, and Michelle and I were friends, so I can say this to her. It's kind of like, Michelle, like, you can't not be a thought leader, Michelle. It's like somebody's saying, I don't want to be an adult. You are. You're an adult. I don't care if you don't want to be an adult. You are. I mean, like, for me, like, it's funny that you say that. As I don't know if it was hypothetical or not, but I'm like, you are a thought leader, so you can either embrace it and use it in your messaging and own it and be confident about it, or you can shy away from it and not use it and downplay it, which I don't think is a good thing. But I think if people think that you are a thought leader, you are. If people think you're an adult, you are. If people think you're a kid, you are.
And let me throw something at you too. If you just happen to be randomly on YouTube Shorts or on Instagram or Twitter or Shitter, as some people call it, and or on Threads, and you see someone say, company pages, you know what, on LinkedIn, they suck. Will Michelle go quietly along and say, well, that's not going to say anything? No, she's going to say something because she's a thought leader.
Yeah, it's just interesting how you see it, right? Like, and I'm not saying I'm not one or trying to not own it, but I just wondered, when I'm looking at using these tools to grow my business, like that's why I'm on the platform. Would a client pick me, or is there any real difference? Are we just getting semantics here? And it doesn't, a subject matter expert and a thought leader, they kind of same. Like, so it's just something that I throw around in my mind. I think I am a thought leader. Like I've got books and podcasts and expand on my thoughts and, from that perspective. So I'm not kind of, shying away from it because I put a heck of a lot of work into things to make sure people know it. But I just wondered if it becomes tarnished at some point if we all go, we're the cool thought leaders, and then it becomes like influencers. And I think that's maybe just where my mind's wandering, and just considering these things. Do I need a label? Am I just me? Like what difference does it make if I call myself a thought leader? So I don't know, just mulling this over while I've got the 3 of you in the room to have this conversation.
Cher has something to say about that.
I'm bursting. All right. So, ever call yourself a thought leader to be a thought leader, right? Like that is, you do thought leadership. You create it, you put it out there. And I think, so one of the things that I've found over the last 2 years of using this analogy that I have, that branding, especially when you're at that level of thought leadership and you're putting it in there and out there, it is seasonal. It is almost like it's seasonal. There are times when you will turn the volume up on your branding efforts. You have the capacity to do it. In this season, could be a short season where you have a lot of time and you're able to do things. And then sometimes you got to turn the volume down because it's too noisy. You've got clients, you got work to do, and you can't handle it. And it's okay to turn it up and down, and because it's contingent on capacity. Right. And I think where we get caught up, especially when you're playing at this level, is one of those things. Do I always have to be on? No. So that's what I'm trying to let you know is no, you don't. But when you put thought leadership out there, what you are creating, and there's a guy I really like to follow on YouTube. His name is Myron Golden. And the one thing he talks about is that your books, the stuff that you're putting out there, and all the work that you put into this, you are creating wealth because you're putting it out there, and it creates opportunities for people to know you, to interact with you, to get an idea if they align with what you're putting out there, your thought leadership. And then it's the gift that keeps on giving. So I think it's important, but just remember, you can turn up and down the volume depending on your capacity in the season that you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd just like to add, I think it takes more than just posting content to become a thought leader. You know, there are people putting all kinds of
Yeah.
content out regularly across multiple platforms. And I think it goes beyond that, you know,
Mhm.
and I think it comes back to those pieces, like you said, of leadership as much as thoughts, you know. And so, yeah, I just like to kind of play the devil's advocate sometimes and have a think about this, because I know we can kind of reaffirm each other and high five each other and just think. And then sometimes I go, do I really want this? Is this the way I'm going? Or am I just trying to push back, you know, and just look at this? Because I want to keep doing what I'm doing. There's no changes to that. And I know, as I said, I put an enormous amount of work into it. And I am very happy to own that space.
Right.
But I just wonder what takes it from just being posts at volume to being thought leaders, you know, what the distinguishing point is for you guys.
I think I figured it out. So Steve, in the comments, he does a lot of leadership training in the
This
retail.
guy, this handsome fella,
That guy?
this
Yes.
handsome guy. Okay.
And when he
That
talks
guy.
about- yes, that guy. And what he talks about a lot is about having an opinion. And I think that might be the difference between expertise and thought leadership is you have an opinion, because a lot of people can be experts, right? Where thought leadership, I think in order to be a leader, you have to have an opinion, right? Because that's what people are following. People are learning from your expertise, but they're following your opinion. They're following your way. Like, this is the way, right? Like, and I think that also might be the distinction. And then how you put your thought leadership out is how much wealth do you want to create? You go into Bobby's program, you learn how to put your thought leadership out there. You're creating more opportunities to create wealth. But I think that even within a company, even if you're not putting out a lot of content, but you have a way, you have an opinion, you have an approach that is built off of your expertise. I think that might be the distinction.
Well, the big difference between subject matter expert is that you're an expert in the moment, in the situation. A thought leader is an expert, but it's someone who's known, someone who's followed, someone who you gets cold called emails and DMs about their expertise because they're so well known. But then they might find out you're a subject matter expert in that area, but it's already a well known thing. And plus, the other thing is you have a platform. You're all standing on the milk crate or the soapbox, and you're telling everybody in the schoolyard or in the business conference, here's what I do, here's what I believe, and I think that's a big part of it, for sure. We have some people asking questions, but I'm not sure if we want to get some of these. But here's one I thought from Yermi: how do you feel about Twitter versus Facebook? I mean, those are this is mostly on LinkedIn live stream, but we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook. I mean, my general take on this question is, it's really where your network is, where your audience is. I mean, I know that I've done a lot. I've hired people from Facebook, particularly for more personal things to me, like my fitness journey. I got a nutritionist and I got a fitness coach from Facebook because it's a very personal thing that I share there. And so that's where I found them. And when they DM'd me, I had no problem with that because it's typically people from my friend network, people that I know and trust pretty well because they're part of my colleagues. So I was willing to do that. And, Twitter, I mean, you don't have to be there if you don't want to. You don't have to be anywhere. But if their audience is there for your business or for your brand, then I think you should. I think everyone should be on LinkedIn. If you had to pick one, that's the one you have to be on because it is the professional networking site, which also it encompasses both the personal, but also, the professional and then some personal personalization and personal life. So you can share both there. But professionally, that's the one thing we want to share. So I think professionally, you want to be on LinkedIn. But anybody else have any thoughts on Twitter versus Facebook?
My initial reaction to that question was C, none of the above.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, I'm on both, and I'm on Twitter. I have a Brenda Meller. I have a Meller Marketing. I dabble. I go out there once a day just to see if there's a major news event or something going on. I go onto Twitter because I find information there more quickly. Facebook, I'm pretty locked down. There's very few people that I know from LinkedIn and other places that I'm friends with on Facebook. My litmus test, if you will, is do I feel comfortable sharing pictures of my kids with you? And then if you are that type of person, I accept your friend request. Other than that, I have a Meller Marketing page, which, as we know, Facebook's page, algorithm has declined and declined. So I feel like it's a necessary place to be. But honestly, how do I feel? Twitter versus Facebook, D, none of the above, go to LinkedIn. That's how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Let's just keep going. Let's go. Next question is: do you share the link across different platforms? Do you recreate the content for each platform? Cher, what would you say?
It depends on the content, right? So you got to look at the audience that you've curated and what they expect from you when they're on that platform. And will it jar them? Because the same people who are on TikTok or on a dating site don't want to see the same thing on LinkedIn. Right. So like they're not ready for that content. So then there is a lot of crossover content. So it really, I think, depends on the creator and how they are putting together that content, because they can create content that supports the user mindset for all networks, but you got to be very careful. Usually it's very short, and and as long as people are used to hearing you talk about that kind of stuff or whatever, it's okay. But there's always better, like, optimized content per network. So I would say if you are short on time and you got to figure out, and you want to be all places at one time, now you've got to find out what is the best content that will share all networks. But then I would challenge that by saying you've got to find one where you can go deep at, where people can see that applied knowledge that I spoke about earlier, and really see what's making you tick and what makes you think and what you're putting out there. So yes, and is my answer to that.
Okay. I want to keep going because we have more questions. I'll give this to Michelle. Maybe she knows this. Well, because assuming you're a business person, what are other good business sites out there besides LinkedIn, Twitter, X, and Facebook? Any thoughts on that?
Look, I'm going to say LinkedIn is the go-to, like no surprises that that's my answer. I'm sure you guys would agree when it comes to professional and the platform to do business. It's not to say that there isn't business transactions going off on other platforms. Like I'm sure that there are lots of people really successful generating business off TikTok, for instance, and I think it's to Cher's point. It's, my advice to people is go fishing where the fish are. So if you know that your audience is on LinkedIn, then that's where you're going. As far as is there a true competitor to LinkedIn? Not that I've discovered as yet. Some pop up from time to time. They seem to disappear pretty quickly. But for me, for instance, a lot of my business comes out of YouTube and my podcast, because
Yes.
that's where I'm expanding on my thought leadership content. I expand on things. And, and so for me, I think those two are a really important part of what I do. As far as the other sites, look, my success, I think, in the last year has come from stripping it all back. So I don't try and be everywhere. I was very clear around go deep on LinkedIn, podcast, YouTube. That's it. So I don't have the stress of trying to work out what I should share across which platforms, because I just narrowed it down. Otherwise, I couldn't keep up and I was drowning and I hated it. And, I couldn't focus on what mattered building my business. So, as far as I know, there's nothing else that's popped up, that's any real threat, which I find interesting that no one has after 20 odd years. LinkedIn still owns it. But yeah, it's a good
data.
I think some competition would be great for LinkedIn. I'm not, if there was another great platform, I'd be spreading myself to another great business platform. But ultimately, because I think there's some changes going on LinkedIn right now that it's going to be a bit rocky this year is my thoughts on what's going to happen. So things won't be as easy as what they've been, over the last however many years. I think we'll start to see some of those monetization things start to sneak through onto LinkedIn, which I don't blame them. They've got to make money. But yeah.
The other thing in mind too is that, you have to be mindful of how much time and resources you have, right? So if you're also an solopreneur and you can't afford, let's say, a team or someone to help you, then yeah, you're gonna start with one place and just do a little bit there and maybe add something else. If you have some more time, maybe you have more time to put to it, then that's a big thing to think about. Like I put a certain amount of time with more than most people, but I'm an entrepreneur and I have that ability to do so. Like Gary Vaynerchuk says, to dabble in things, you never know what might take off. A couple of years ago, Clubhouse, I dabbled in, it took off. I was able to build some business off that, and that's where the Thought Leaders Brand Club came from. So you never know what's going to happen. I know some people, LinkedIn influencers like Joel Algy, who decided to go into TikTok, and now he said, he did a post on this, I still post on LinkedIn, but I get way more business on TikTok. Good for him. If you have a consistent message, you can actually build something there. My own son, my 15-year-old son, started a school project doing a YouTube channel, and he has 307 subscribers and 60,000 views. And I was like, dude, I couldn't get 100 subscribers in 10 years. And It's unbelievable. He doesn't have a business, but the point is he's dabbling and doing stuff and making shift happen. So I think that's kind of cool. I want to be able to ask you guys, what are some of the things you're working on and help you promote what you're doing. So Brenda, how about you? What'd you start? Like, what are you working on? How can people find you? Share with us a little bit of that.
Yeah, this just in, like I literally did a post earlier. I think it starts with this just in. Like I just announced today, I'm doing an upcoming event. It's called WBL Live-a-thon. It's kind of like my little wink because WBL stands for working but looking. And it's designed to help people who are working but looking for a new job in 2024. And they don't want their coworkers, their boss, their clients to know. We're doing a Saturday event. It's not going to be on LinkedIn Live. There's not going to be an event page on LinkedIn because, if you register for an event, people can see that you've registered for the event. And if you're working but looking, you don't want people knowing. And I've got an all-star lineup. I think I've got 18 total speakers, individual solo talks, and panel discussions, everything from should you quit your job to creating a side hustle while you're looking for your next full-time job to topics that are really relevant for people who are experience rich, which I deem to be age 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus, which is a very unique segment of our population, have a lot of strengths to offer, but may have some challenges as well. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go to my website, mellermarketing.com/WBL24, or just go to my LinkedIn profile. It's going to be all over the place in the next few days.
Awesome. How about you, Cher? What's going on? What are you working on? How can we help you and support you?
Okay. Yeah, so it's just continuing to go down the path of doing my corporate training, and as well, I'm working on a book. So that is something, and I'm going to be issuing an audio book before the actual book. So it's going to be like a tease to that. So definitely get on the list for that. And just a lot more in the training space and helping teams build their brands at work for work, both at a team brand and their individual personal brand as well. So it's really exciting, and just excited about the work that I'm doing. And of course, podcast coming up very soon, and that's called Your Brand at Work.
Nice. And, it'd be fun to have, like, if we all had audiobooks, we could actually do the audio for each other's books. So, I could be your voice, you could be Michelle's voice, Michelle could be Brenda's voice. That'd be kind of fun. Ain't it crazy? Yeah. Michelle, how about you? What are you working on? What's going on? How can we support you?
Look, I am working to help anyone that has a company page that's flatlined and you do not know what to do, then reach out and ask me about my audit and strategy services, because you'd be surprised that with a bit of tinkering, we can get that thing started again. So, but the cool thing that I'm running just this month, because everyone thinks I'm crazy giving it all away, I have a 30-day LinkedIn profile transformation challenge going over on YouTube. 30 videos that break down all the different ways that you can update your LinkedIn profile. All you need to do is go to the search bar and type in @MichelleJ.Raymond, and it will pop up as one of the playlists. And yeah, the feedback is that, people think I'm a little crazy giving it all away. So before I change my mind or get it changed for me, jump over there. You can jump in at the beginning, watch it. There's nothing you need to do except basically subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, no email addresses, no follow-up. It is yours. It's my gift, because I'm teaching myself planning and accountability this year. So it's my gift to you is teaching me how to do those two things. So jump in while it's still there.
I love that. And for those of you who know me, like I run the Thoughts Brand Club, which hosts these live streams, which hosts weekly trainings every Thursday at 4 p.m. You're more than welcome to come by. You can meet me. You can meet the other speakers. The thing we're talking about this Thursday at 4 p.m. is actually video testimonials, how to actually do them, how to actually get them, and how to make them stand out and be really awesome. And then, of course, I'm a TEDx guy. So now my focus is I did a 5-day TEDx program. There was 40 people there. It was great. But now we're going to do a super workshop, basically all the content we did in the 5 days, but in one day. It's going to be on February 8th. If you want to be part of that thing, just DM me. We don't have the event set up yet, but that's going to be a big thing I'm doing. And then, of course, that's going to feed into the big TEDx Mastery Intensive that I'm launching end of February. So that's a big that I'm doing. So pretty excited about that. I want to thank you guys for coming here. Like, I don't know how much time you guys have, so I don't want to, we had the hour, so I can talk to you guys forever. I'm very fond of all of you. And a little funny update. The Instagram thing we had, it got canceled. It was removed by Instagram for illicit nudity content. So I don't know whether like
All
someone's
right, who did
forehead
it?
came in.
I didn't see it, but
and
who did it?
Must be my green screen.
I have no idea what happened. That's so
Wow.
crazy.
That is crazy.
That is
Oh.
crazy. So I mean, but look, here's the thing: we dabble, we try, we experiment, we do different things. You never know what's going to happen. And I want to add one more thing about digital presence and thought leadership, which is we are all on rented space, rented
Yes.
land. And so I've had a friend at a business on Facebook got locked out. I had a friend on LinkedIn who got locked out for 2 months. My partner, Nanda, got locked out of Instagram and start all over. So you want to make sure that you have something where people are going somewhere that you own, on your website, on your newsletter, whatever that might be, so that they know where to find you, they can access you, because that's a big part of business too. So definitely leverage the tools the best you can, but also try to get people off these sites into your communities. I think that's incredibly important. Any other final thoughts from you guys on the topic today? Thought leadership and digital presence.
I just appreciated the opportunity to chop it up with you guys. And so thank you so much. This is everybody, you know what? You do this. This is stuff that is game changing. It's life changing. It literally, your thought leadership is wealth creation, because it's creating opportunities that you couldn't do outside of that without it. So create it and you'll see what will come up for you. And there's so much more to wealth than just dollars and cents, but opportunity wealth, visibility wealth, which all actually leads back to the dollars and cents.
And I'll go one further. Those opportunities allow you to meet up with people. So being a thought leader on company pages allows me to speak at Social Media Marketing World in San Diego next month. And then I'm off to Denmark in June as well. So I've got 2 speaking opportunities. But next month, I get to meet the fabulous Brenda Meller as part of my trip to the US. And so there's so many opportunities. You get to meet like-minded, amazing people like the people I'm sharing this stage with. So, and I don't think that the power of community can be underestimated, because that's where the true power comes from, when you're on these platforms and creating your thought leadership and your digital presence, as we've been talking about. So I am counting sleeps now, just saying, just putting it out there.
I would be too.
I'll give a final thing too, and I'm super excited about meeting Michelle too. But I'll give a final thing for those people that are watching. If you have not yet posted on LinkedIn this week, this month, in the past year, grab a screen capture. Like right now, grab a screen capture of the 4 of us. Take that picture and post it on LinkedIn and go and say something like this. Just watch it, an amazing panel discussion about thought leadership and the importance of digital presence, featuring at Bobby Umar, at Cher Jones, at Michelle J. Raymond, at Brenda Meller. And here are 3 of my top takeaways from that. That's the path to thought leadership. You
ready?
start by sharing things that you learned from other leaders, and you tag them in. You create that social media karma. It's a super easy tip to do. And for me, it's like so easy. And when you tag speakers, all of us have really large networks. So when you tag us, it actually goes to our homepage feed on LinkedIn. You get the benefit of our large network seeing you. We will reply back. Like speakers, we will reply back if somebody shares
It's a great tactic.
Especially if they say, hey, I learned these amazing things from Bobby. If they tell you that, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I'm so flattered. Thank you. And it's a really easy way of just jump starting. And if you don't think you're a thought leader, like learn from others and then share the things that you learned, but give the credit to them. Like don't take credit for, like, I learned these things, like give the credit to those people, but taking a photo helps to illustrate, yeah, you were actually there. And whether it's a virtual event or if you're going to be at Social Media Marketing World, oh my gosh, how lucky are you? You're going to see Michelle J. Raymond on stage. What is that? Like get photos of people when you go to these events, and then afterwards share them online. So hopefully I'll see some photos from all of you.
All right. So why don't Ariel says say cheese. So we're gonna do cheese for 5 seconds. Ready? Hey, cheese. And boom! Hopefully you got that.
It's like, hang on. And you can see my glow is starting to happen. So we're getting warm now. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do not feel sorry for you, Michelle. My hands have been numb like for 3 weeks right now. They're just like they can't thaw out at all.
So let me just share some final thoughts. So the importance of digital presence is that you have an opportunity here to connect with people, to build community, to build relationships, to get people to know about who you are, what you care about. whether it's your brand or your passions, things that are important to you. I posted today on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter about my health journey. You never know who someone's going to connect with that and be inspired by that, because the truth is 90% of people don't actually say anything. They just read and consume. And eventually someone will respond to you and say, wow, I was inspired by what you said. So that digital presence is important. Secondly, thought leadership is a chance for you to elevate who you are and your ideas so that you can create that influence, create that impact. And when you do so, when you have clear connection and you have thought leadership, you start to create opportunities. And I think that knowing you three and being able to bring you guys into this, and you're all stellar thought leaders in my mind, that's something that helps having built my own thought leadership, having built my own digital presence and built a connection with people like you. So that's why this doesn't happen unless, like, I only knew Cher in person in Toronto. The other two I met digitally. We actually have never met in person, yet here we are. We're talking like old buddies, having a drink of wine.
You said you met Cher in Toronto.
Oh, that's right. Brenda and I met for one time at LinkedIn. That's right. Sorry. That's right. So, but Brenda and I built our relationship digitally, and then we saw each other this past summer. Michelle, I'd love to meet you sometime too. So I'm doing what I can to get down under that in Australia. That'd be amazing. But thank you so much for being.
Guide.
Yes. So thank you so much for being here. If you have further questions, follow these three. I've put questions in the chat box. Tag us. Make those posts like Brenda said. And again, be sure to check what the Thought Leaders Brand Club is doing. We love what we do, and it's a great community of 50 people in our membership group. We're looking to get more members, and you get a ton of stuff for a ridiculously low price. It's less than what I charge for an hourly rate, but you get the same price for a year of all the stuff that I do. So hope you can look that up and let me know if you have any questions. So thank you, Cher. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Michelle. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and we'll see you guys soon. We're going to end the stream now.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.